Jess. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to the vlog. I hope that you've been having a great week so far. I don't know if this is your first video or if you've been here for a while, but if you've been here since the beginning of the year, you'll know that one of my goals for the year is to make really good progress in reading my physical TBR. I would like to eventually, several years from now, get my TBR to 50 or less books so that feasibly I could read my entire physical TBR in one calendar year. It's a process for sure getting there. That's the goal. So I thought this week, let's just do a little vlog where I read a book off of my physical TBR. And if you've also seen my last two vlogs, you will know that I have been having so much success with the thriller and horror genre. I think it's just the mood reader in me. I've just been loving scary, creepy, crawly things. I don't know what to tell you. This is really quite a switch from 2 or 3 months ago where I read almost exclusively fantasy romance. I don't know what to tell you. It's called balance. This week I decided that I want to read How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. Now I want to say I have not had a 5-star read from Grady Hendrix yet. However, I'm fully convinced that eventually I will get a 5-star read from this man. There's something about the way that he writes that just really works for me. I think he's very talented as an author, and he always has very interesting concepts. So really it's just gonna come down to the execution, but I'm fully convinced that one of these days he's gonna write a book that I consider perfect. Will it be this book? I don't know, but I really hope so. This book has a lot of things going for it that could make it a new favorite of mine. I love haunted house stories, and this one also, I've been told, has a bunch of creepy puppets. And while I don't like creepy puppets in my real life, I do like them a lot in my horror novels. So that's another plus. And then I also know that this book has a lot of themes of grief in it, and each section of the book is one of the stages of grief, and I really like books that thematically handle that topic. Could this be a 5-star? Definitely could be. We will have to see though. Just a quick synopsis for this book. You're basically following two siblings, and their parents have passed away and left them their house, and they have decided to sell the house, except the house is haunted. That is all I know about this book. I'm sure I will have plenty to say in upcoming clips, but for now, I'm just gonna go read, and I will talk to you when I have something interesting to say. Hello and good morning. I am fresh out the shower. I'm busy doing my laundry and I just wanted to do a quick reading update. I am on page 85. I've finished the first section of How to Sell a Haunted House. So far I'm liking it. there isn't really anything crazy to report on. So far, our main character, her parents have died and she has gone back home, and she is talking to her brother for the first time in what I think is like years. They do not get along. They don't really communicate. And this is a book for the people who like just a ton of messy characters. I have been tabbing a little bit just about the themes of grief in here, and then also tabbing portions about the familial relationships because they are messy and complicated. It seems like our main character and her mother and her brother are all messy and complicated. The dad we get less of a picture about, and I don't know if he just was an unproblematic king and just, did what he did, or if we just haven't gotten to more elaboration about him yet. There does seem to be some, I don't necessarily know if it qualifies as abuse or just simply neglect or just bad parenting. It's a little bit in the gray area. It's very, very flawed people dealing with cyclical trauma and doing their best, but sometimes not doing good, if that makes sense. And it does seem that, the main character, she's very critical of her mother, but at the same time, she's also mourning her mother. And so you get to see these good memories and also these negative memories that are impacting how our main character interacts with her brother and her daughter and her daughter's father. We're definitely getting to see the effects of how her mother raised them and how that has influenced her personality. And she's not 100% reliable, which is fun. She's not necessarily as self-aware as she would like to think she is. She's not necessarily as emotionally mature as she would like to think she is. Since you're in her head, you kind of have to read between the lines a little bit with what she thinks and says about her brother and her mother, because there is truth to it, but it's not necessarily the full picture. And then you get a more full picture when her brother will say something back to her and she's shocked, or she'll agree, or she'll be what are you talking about, and just not even think that it's the truth. There's already been honestly a decent amount of conflict between the main character and her brother, which is nuts because it's only been 2 days in the book and I'm only 85 pages in. I have a lot to go. The book is divided up into the different stages of grief, which I do think is interesting. And I definitely am seeing that. Here's the thing. I don't know how the rest of the book is gonna go, but so far the horror elements and the creepy elements are very much paralleling the grief elements. I like that. I appreciate it. It's also interesting because so far, there is creepy stuff going on, and the puppets are there for sure, and the dolls, but so far the haunted house hasn't really been a traditional haunted house. It doesn't seem, so far, this might change, it doesn't seem like there's ghosts or demons or monsters or something like that, other than obviously the creepy puppet type of deal. So far the haunted house element seems to be more of a metaphor for grief. Our main character goes in the house and she is haunted by the memories that she has in that house. And some of the haunting is good memories that makes her sad. And some of it is traumatic memories of bad things that happened in her life. So I'm not sure if the haunted house elements are going to ramp up, or if this book is just going to use the haunted house metaphor as a way to express the themes of grief. I mean, honestly, I'm fine with either. I do love a good haunted house story, but I also love exploring grief in books, so I am fine with either. Like I said, I'm working on a lot of laundry today. Other than that, all my plans are to read. I would like to finish at least the next section, which is anger. The anger section is the longest, so that will get me like a little over halfway through the book. Ideally, I would actually like to finish the next 2 sections. I don't know how much I'm gonna get done with also doing the housework. So we will see. I will update you later, and I hope your day's been going good. Well, are you experiencing any deja vu? I'm coming to you once again, just out of the shower, wearing the same sweatshirt I was wearing earlier this week, but it is not the same day. It's actually 2 days later. So my secret is out. I do shower more than once a week. I wanted to do an update because I have finished the anger and bargaining sections of this book. That means I have like a little over, I think, 100 pages left in How to Sell a Haunted House. I do technically have 2 like sections left in the book. However, the acceptance section is literally just like 1 chapter, so it's basically just like 1 section left. And honestly, I don't know how it's gonna go. I'm very nervous because first of all, it's the depression section. I don't really know what reading a whole section thematically about depression. I don't know that that's gonna be a good idea for my brain. I'm also nervous because a lot of things happened like right before this section ended, and now we're dealing with the fallout, I suppose. What are they gonna do now? Like, I could not tell you, but I am really enjoying this book. This book definitely brings back the camp. I can kind of see why people say that this is like somewhere in between My Best Friend's Exorcism and the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires was very well written, and I mean, I have a couple of issues with that book, but I still gave it like 4 stars. And I haven't finished this, but before this vlog, that was my favorite Grady Hendrix book. But that book is also kind of like a look into a family and a community, and this book is also looking at a family, but this book also, like, it brings the camp. It really brings the camp. I genuinely do not recommend this book if you don't like camp. And My Best Friend's Exorcism also had like a lot of camp. This one has a lot of camp. My Best Friend's Exorcism had a ton of camp, so I do see why it gets those comparisons. But I do think if you liked the camp in My Best Friend's Exorcism, then I think that you will really enjoy this. It is gruesome. Like, really, it is gruesome and violent, but like also a little bit silly in like a really violent, gross way. Like, it's puppets. Like, what do you mean? Like, of course it's a little bit silly. Grady Hendrix really fully embraced the camp of puppets, and I think it really works. It works so well, in my opinion. I'm eating it up. I'm a big fan of camp. I also think that this book is Grady Hendrix's best written characters. I'm not saying that they will be your favorite characters, because like the 2 main characters is like the brother and sister, and like they kind of suck. However, even though they suck, there is something very appealing about reading them and following them. They feel very real. They feel extremely well developed. And I really enjoyed my time reading about these characters so far. And I also really enjoyed kind of just examining the sister character especially. And you do get like a little bit of the brother's like POV, but it's not a lot. So it's mainly the sister. And I really enjoyed reading between the lines of what she says and like really getting into her head and dissecting her as a person and finding out what her flaws are and seeing how she interprets the world, but also being able to see that like this is her point of view. And while there's definitely truth to what she says, it is not the full and complete truth. And there's just something really appealing about her as a narrator for this story that just makes it a lot more interesting and intriguing to read. And I think it just works really well with the familial and sibling themes throughout the book, having her as the main character really works. At this point, with 100 pages left to go, I don't think I would recommend this book if you are specifically looking for a haunted house story. I mentioned this before, and I think that it still remains true that this is not a book that is really about a haunted house. There are some hauntings. There are quite a bit of like creepy, gross, nasty things going down. But it is not about the house specifically. The haunting of the house is all thematic. And I honestly really like the analogies of the haunted house as a way to talk about family dynamics, and I like all of that. However, I did want to say a big caveat that like if you're looking for a haunted house story, I would not recommend this book specifically for that. Honestly, I still love the title, and I don't think I could come up with like a better title for the book. It's not really a haunted house story. Like that's not really the point of it. I just wanted to make that like very, very clear. So you can like set your expectations going into this book. I do recommend this book so far. I am really, really liking it. So far, I think this book is really, really well constructed and executed. So I definitely do recommend the book so far. It's somewhere around a 4-star. Okay, so that's where I'm at now. My plans for today are to edit the beginning of this vlog, like the first couple of clips, and also to finish this book. So hopefully you will see me in like 5 or 6 hours, and hopefully my hair will be looking better than it is now, and I will have finished this book. So I will talk to you later. Good morning! It is the next day, and I have finished How to Sell a Haunted House. It is excellent. This is another win for me for Grady Hendrix. I think I'm settling on a 4-star rating for this book. Everything that I have said so far about this book applies to like the last little section. Now, I will say that in terms of like the stages of grief analogy, I do think that the anger and the bargaining sections were probably the best done. But in terms of a horror sequence, the depression is unmatched. The horror sequence of events in the depression section were so good, so good. And like when I say so good, I mean ultra creepy, scary, terrifying, all of those objectives, but like exactly what you want in a horror novel. I don't really have that much to say about like the last 100 or so pages of the book. There's not much I can tell you without spoiling, but I really, really liked it. I'm gonna continue reading Grady Hendrix. I also think the ending was very, very satisfying. Grady Hendrix knows how to finish off a book and make it satisfying. Now, here's the thing. I'm not gonna say that like it's gonna be a crazy plot twist. I don't think that anything in here is considered a plot twist. You don't pick up Grady Hendrix for plot twists and shock value, and I think that the ending you could definitely see coming. It was definitely foreshadowed, but that does not stop it from being an extremely, extremely satisfying ending. I finished the final chapter and I was like, yep, that's how you end a book. Overall, if you like adult horror, if you like creepy puppets, I highly, highly recommend this book. If you like themes of grief, you should definitely check this book out. If you like messy family dynamics, messy sibling dynamics, then you should definitely read this book. If you are specifically looking for a haunted house story, don't pick up this book for that. It's not gonna scratch that itch, even though it is still sort of a haunted house. So yeah, this is a win for me. That's another book off of my physical TBR. And thank you so much for hanging out with me today and being here. I really, really appreciate that. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. I should have more vlogs coming, and in a couple weeks we have the second semester of the Magical Readathon, which is very exciting. I hope you have a good week this week. I hope that you stay safe. I hope you stay cool this week, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye!